I wanted to talk about the sale begins when the customer says no. You know, I learned that when I was 18 years old. I was thinking of going into sales to make some money to work my way through college. And I went to some boiler room guys in a hotel in Manhattan. And they gave out a book on how to make a sale. I never became a salesman, but I learned that the sale begins when the customer says no. Actually, no, I learned it somewhere else. I can't remember now. I was young and didn't know anything about anything, and naturally I thought I knew everything. And I couldn't make a sale, so I went to the guy who owned the company. He said to me, "Kid, listen to me. What, do you expect them to buy it because you're a nice, good-looking young guy? What's wrong with you?" He said, "Remember this, Michael." He said, "The sale begins when the customer says no." You know that stayed with me for the rest of my life? In other words, we have a generation of kids out here today who don't know the first thing about rejection. They can't get married because they can't get serious with anybody, primarily because they're too thin-skinned. And if someone says one wrong word to them right away, they run away because they don't understand how to have a relationship. Recently, I tried to hire someone as an assistant. When I met him, the person seemed rather enthusiastic. And then he called back once, several days later, 4 days later, still interested. And then I emailed back, but this guy had not followed up since. Now, this is in the worst economy since the Great Depression. And it indicated to me that this guy would be a lackadaisical employee. He is somebody I would have to run after and hold his hand, and I don't want to work with him. And that is because they've been raised in a society where everything is about the children. They feel that mommy and daddy will take care of them, that they can always move back in with their parents. Maybe it's from years of free everything. Maybe that's the problem. But as I said to you, in my day, I was taught that the sale begins when the customer says no. What does that mean? If someone says no to a member of today's children, they have to go through months of therapy. You say no to them, they wind up in therapy. And I think Obama is typical of this. Nobody has ever said no to him. He's gotten everything he's always wanted without having to struggle. But struggle is what forges a strong personality. It's what forges character. I told you yesterday that children who are not exposed to germs tend to be the ones that are the sickliest because their immune systems have not had a chance to build up a defense to it. And I say in the same way exposure to rejection builds up an immunity to it and allows people to be psychologically resilient. In other words, build up a little hide on your skin. But because liberalism has so carefully protected children from damage to their all-important self-esteem. Self-esteem. Now, I've always said, you can't have self-esteem if you have no self and if you've done nothing. But we have a whole generation of kids who have been raised to have self-esteem for doing nothing. Have you ever gone to a Little League field and you've seen the fathers? With the littlest kid, the kid swings and misses 5 times in a row in the father. Good job. Whatever the kid does. Good job. This emphasis on positive reinforcement. Good job. The kid takes a dump in his pants. Good job. I mean, come on. That's not child rearing. That's really not child rearing at all. It's liberalism. And it's not good for the child. The child must learn to really do something before you say good job. But because the neo-Marxists of today have tried to hand everything to kids on a silver platter, the children have no motivation to achieve anything in their lives. In my time, if you wanted a good job, any kind of job or anything, you had to fight for it. If someone said, I won't hire you, you sat on their doorstep and showed them that you weren't about to give up so easily. You said, look, think about it again. Over and over again, you sat there. You didn't take no for an answer. You called them again and again until you got through to them. Then you begged them to see you, saying, I know that you've turned me down. I respect that, but I must tell you something you don't know about me. Usually, the boss of a company would have you come in saying, this person is very persistent. Maybe I should see them again. You refused to accept rejection in my day because accepting it made you a reject. You hear this? If you accepted rejection, you became a reject. But call anyone a reject today, and suddenly they go into therapy, and they might even sue you for hate talk. Now, is this the reason why politicians claim that illegal aliens aren't doing the jobs that Americans won't do? In my day, there weren't jobs that Americans wouldn't do. They were thankful if they got a job as a janitor, and they took pride in their work. Today, they expect to be president of the company within a month of arriving. And I'm going to ask you, what did you have to do to get where you are today? Maybe some young person will be saved by your story. What struggles did you have to go through to achieve a position in life that you have today, and how long did it take? I want to remind you of something else. When I was very young and just came out of college, I was a welfare worker, meaning in the New York Department of Welfare. I don't know what they call it today, something else. Then it was called the Welfare Department. Today it's called something else. Then I worked as a teacher. And then I worked as an editor in a book company. I didn't last very long because I wasn't a good editor. And the manager came, the editor-in-chief called me and he said, Michael, I've got bad news for you. You're a nice person, but you're not an editor. You can't, we're going to fire you, but I'm going to give you a choice. And this is a true story. I never remember telling this one. He said, we're not going to fire you if you'll take a job starting on the very bottom. I'm going to give you a broom every day, and you have to start every day by sweeping up in editors' rooms. You know what I said to him? I'll take it. And do you know that I took that broom and I diligently swept the floors in that editor's office and in the assistant editor's office and the associate editor's office? I don't know how many months I did it, but eventually I became a junior editor in a very, very small, obscure publication. So you see, rejection is part of growth. Unfortunately, in America today, rejection is verboten. And look at the results we have. And so remember the purpose of this story. It's a positive purpose. The purpose of the story is to tell the young people listening to this show that the sale begins when the customer says no. I'll be right back.